Lesson 3.3, solving equations with variables on both sides. Let's look at example 1. You can see we have variables on both sides of the equation. We have a 5n and a 9n. Before we do anything else, let's change our subtracting to adding the opposite. Okay, the first thing we need to do is try to get the n's together. Okay, so we want to try to move them to one side. You need to think about what would make more sense. Would it make more sense to add the opposite of negative 9n to both sides? Or would it make more sense to add the opposite of 5n to both sides? You can see that if I would do the first way, that I would get a negative 4n. If I did the second way, I would get a positive 4n. Because I like to work with positive numbers more than I like to work with negative numbers, I'm going to go with the second way, where I move the 5n by adding the opposite. Remember, why did I add the opposite? Because this was positive 5n. So to clear it, to get it to be 0, I had to add the opposite. I'm going to do that to both sides. That clears the 5n's on the left side. You're left with negative 7. And what is positive 9n plus negative 5n? Positive 4n, and then bring down the 21. Now what you have is a two-step problem. So, first thing we clear is the constant by adding the opposite, which is negative 21. Negative 7 plus negative 21 is negative 28. The 21's cancel each other out to be 0, so you're left with 4n. Then I divide by 4, which is the coefficient. 4's cancel out because that's 1. You're left with n. Negative 28 divided by 4 is negative 7. The solution is negative 7. Just like all the other previous problems, you can check your work by plugging in negative 7 into n. And check that when you solve each side, they equal the same. Example 2. This time we're going to have no solution. So let me show you how it will occur when there's no solution possible. First of all, you have distributive properties. See the parentheses with the number next to it. 3 times 2 is 6x. 3 times 1 is 3. 6x plus 3 equals 6x. Do you notice that this statement is not true? You can't have 6x plus 3 be the same as just 6x. One side you're adding 3, the other side you're not, but they still have the same coefficient and variable. The equation has no solution. As a check, you can continue to solve the equation, but you'll end up with the fact that 3 equals 0, and that's just not true. No solution will be when there is when you solve it or you simplify, it does not make sense. Example 3, this time when all numbers are solutions. Distribute 4x, and then 4 times 2 is 8. You can see they have the exact same. On each side, it is the same equation. That means that the statement 4x plus 8 equals 4x plus 8 is true. The equation has every number as a solution. If I put in 2 for x, that's going to be the same answer on each side. If I put in 5 for the x, you're still going to get the same answer. So no matter what I put in for x, because it's the same problem on both sides, it's going to make it true. Please pause the video and try these two problems. Remember, you can have no solution, or you can have all numbers as a solution. Problem number 1. first thing I want to do is add the opposite. Now, 3n I know is smaller than 5n, so it would make more sense to subtract or add the opposite of negative 3n to both sides. You're left with negative 6 because this was 0, and then 5 plus negative 3 is positive 2n, bring down the plus 20. Now you have a two-step problem. Add the opposite of the constant to both sides. Add because of the same sign. 20's cross out because that's 0. And then divide by the coefficient. Your answer is n equals negative 13. Remember, you can always check by plugging in negative 13 into the original problem and seeing if you get the same number on both sides. Number 12. First thing I need to do is distribute a property. Actually, before that, let's change subtracting into adding the opposite, and then do this distributive property. Remember, parentheses always comes first, so distributive properties always solve first. Do you see that 12x equals 12x plus negative 4? Can you ever have a 12x on one side and then a 12x plus negative 4 on the other? And again, if you wanted to try to solve this, excuse me, that's not first, you could actually go through the steps, but you end up with 0 equals negative 4. Well, you can't have that. That doesn't work. So it's no solution. Number 3 and 4. If you have not solved these yet, please pause the video. Number 3, you have two distributive properties that I need to do first. 3 times 2 is 6n. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 2 is 6n. 2 times 6 is 12. You can see I have the same thing, same expression on both sides. So this is all numbers, because any number I put in for n is going to make it a true statement. Number 4, change my subtraction to adding the opposite. Now I have a 2x and a negative 2x. If I add the opposite, I'm going to add negative 2x to this from this side, but this on the right side I could add positive 2x. So I'm going to do that because I'm going to get a positive 4x on the left. And again, play around with which variable to move, and you'll start to realize which ones will be easier to solve. Here's your two-step. Constant is 7, add the opposite. Two sides to the problem. Two negatives, just add. Keep that negative sign. This is 0, so you're left with 4x. Divide by the coefficient. X equals negative 5. Example 4. Find the perimeter of a square. You know a square has 4 sides of equal length. So what we can do is set these sides equal to each other because they're going to be the same number. Just for an example, if a square has a side of 12, let me actually just make a new square. So if the square has a side of 12, then all sides are 12. This is just an example. So that means this side and the right side are going to be equal. I'm going to move this x over by subtracting x or adding negative x. Remember there's that negative 1 there. That's going to make 2x. And then the x's on the right side cancel out. 2x equals 6. Divide by 2. X equals 3. Now that you know that x equals 3, we can find the length of one side by substituting the 3 in for the x. So 3x equals 3 times 3, which is 9. So this side right here is 9. Well, that also means that this is 9. So all you have to do is multiply 4 times 9, because perimeter formula is 4 times side. The perimeter of the square is 36 units. Please try number 5. Remember to set the two expressions equal to each other because they're going to be the same number. Solve the problem. Find the perimeter, not just x. Number 5, you do not want to move the 5x because there's nothing on, if I would have moved this, there's nothing on this side anymore. That would become 0. And you can't leave a side with 0. Okay, remember the whole point is to try to get x by itself. So I want to try to move the x so that it's on one side. So I'm going to move the 3x away from the 8, bring down the 8 because these cancel out, divide by 2, x equals 4. Remember, I'm not done though. Now that I know that x equals 4, find the side length. 5 times 4 is 20. And if you want to check, put it in for the second one. 12 plus 8 is also 20. So now the perimeter is 4 times side, which is 4 times 20. The answer is 80 units. Just one more quick hint. Remember that if you have a problem like this is just another example, you might think that adding 2x is going to make the problem easier, right? Because you're going to get a positive. However, in this case, I would actually move this 3x because that's going to leave an 8 on the one side, and then you'll have your x on the other. It's going to make it easier to solve later. Okay, let me show you both ways. It doesn't actually matter which x you move, but it does change how many steps you do. So let me just quickly show you both ways. So if I would add the 2x on both sides, you're going to end up with 0. You need to keep that 0 there because if you don't, then you're not going to have anything on the left side of the equation. 5x plus 8. Well, now what I have to do is a two-step problem where I add the opposite, and now you have negative 8 equals 5x. You are going to get a fraction here. I didn't set up a nice problem. Okay. On the other side, though, if you would have done adding negative 3x, you get negative 5x equals 8. Same thing. Divide by the negative 5. You are going to end up with the same number. You can see on that side I ended up with the same thing. So either which way works. Just remember to keep the 0 here if you do decide to do it the first way.